Welcome back to the Conference Manager tutorial series. In this video, we are going to go over the Session Scheduler module, what the users will see on the front end, as well as how they can build their own schedule. As we did with the other modules, the first thing you need to do to set up your Session Scheduler is to check if the module is enabled under your Community Admin dropdown on the Manage Community page. If you are not a global administrator, please reach out to support and ask us to turn on that module for you. Once the module is turned on, you will see Scheduling in the left menu bar. Let's click on that now. To create a new schedule, click on the Create New Schedule button. Using the Schedule Type dropdown, you can select between a registration and abstract. If you are using the registration and abstract modules, you should have already created your abstracts and attached them to the registration. In this case, you will select the registration as the type and then choose the registration that these abstract forms are connected to. If you are not using our registration module, you will select Abstracts and then select one or multiple abstract forms you'd like to include in your session scheduler. You will then choose whether you want to use the in-person or virtual location option. The in-person option will append the time zone you select to all your dates and times in the scheduler, whereas the virtual option will convert the time zone you've selected to the user's local time zone. You can then add a location if you wish. If you choose the abstract location type, you will need to select a name and language. Next, you will select the start and end dates and times. Since this community already has a schedule set up, let's go edit it. You will now see the Schedule tab in the left menu bar with each step to set up your scheduler in the drop-down below it. If you've chosen the registration type scheduler, the name of your scheduler will be the same as the registration. If you've chosen the abstract location type, you will name the scheduler. The first step is the Edit Schedule step. This page shows the selections you made when creating the scheduler, but you may edit most of that information other than the schedule type. The next few steps create a hierarchy in your schedule and allow for filtering to search for certain events in your scheduler. We will discuss this after examining the creation of the next few steps. Let's take a look at tracks. Tracks are often the keywords or formats you've used in the abstract submission process. Since keywords are commonly used as tracks, we have created an Import Abstract Keywords button to save you time. If these keywords don't work for your tracks, you can click on Create New Track and fill out the required fields. The next step is Session Types. The session types are commonly the formats you've used in your abstract submission process, so we've created an Import Abstract Formats button to save you time importing the session types. If you want to create a session type from scratch, click on Create New Session Type and fill out the required fields. The next step is Items. These are events that are not related to the abstract submissions. Examples of items include keynote speakers, coffee breaks, and meals. You may create a session type that each of these items belong to. For example, you may have a session type called Speakers, and you may indicate that this session type requires a presenter. You may have another session type that encapsulates all meals, coffee breaks, or luncheons, and indicate that this session type does not require a presenter. You would then create the items and choose which session type these items belong to. To create an item, click Create New Scheduled Item. You will then provide a name, choose which session type it belongs to, and add a description if you wish. Now that you've created tracks, session types, and scheduled items, we will now look at the Manage Sessions page. You will understand the purpose of the previous steps better once you start creating sessions. Click on the sessions in the left menu bar, or Manage Sessions, on the Manage Scheduling page. Now click on Create New Session. You will give the session a name and a session ID. The session ID can be any alphanumerical combination you desire and is used for reporting. You will then have the option to choose the overarching session type you'd like to add for this session. Keep in mind, you can still add scheduled items and abstract submissions that don't belong to the same session type into this session. Again, the session types, tracks, and keywords are mainly used for filtering to assist conference attendees in finding the events quickly in your scheduler. If you have many different workshop types in this session, you may choose not to add a session type to the session itself. You now also have the option to add keywords or tracks to the session if you want. Similar to session type, these fields are not required, but depending on how you are organizing your session, it may make sense to add them for filtering purposes. You can also add a description and location for this session. Choose if the session is a single day or multi-day session. If you choose single day, you will add a single date and start and end time. You will notice that below the time fields there will be some text that displays the time zone you selected when creating the schedule. If you choose multi-day, you will add the additional dates and start and end times for each day. The last field is used for notes. These notes are for admins and will not be displayed to conference attendees in the schedule. The participants and sponsors have repositories in the left menu bar where you can add all the sponsors and participants. Any existing sponsors or participants will appear in the repository. Let's click on the Add Participants button. If there are any existing participants, you can add them with the plus symbol. If they do not exist in the repository, you can create a new participant by clicking on the Create New Participant button. On the Create Participant window, you will add their first and last name, affiliation, and an image if you wish. An example of the participants field being used is if you have someone participating in a session but isn't connected to the presenter of a specific scheduled item or abstract submission. The sponsors work in a similar way to the participants and have a button in the left menu bar where you can create a repository of all the sponsors. Let's click on the Add Sponsor button. You will now see a list of the sponsors you've already added to the repository and can add them to this session with the plus symbol. You can create a new sponsor by clicking the Create New Sponsor button. You will need to add their name and can also add their sponsor level and logo. The Workshops card is where we are going to do most of the organizing for the session. Click on the Add Workshop button and you will see you have the option to add a scheduled item or an abstract submission. There is filtering on both options so you can create a list of only the types of items or submissions you want to see. For scheduled items, you will see the session types and whether there is a presenter required for that scheduled item. The abstract submissions have more filtering options. One filter that you may find useful will show whether or not that abstract is already assigned to a session. Keep in mind, the only submissions you are going to see in this list are the submissions that have the confirmed status, so make sure your submitters are confirming the acceptance decision before creating your schedule. You can manually confirm the decision on their behalf if you like. Please refer to the abstract tutorials to see how this is done. On the Add Abstract Submission page, you may click on the plus symbol to add individual abstracts or select the checkboxes beside the abstracts you wish to add, and then click the Add Selected Submissions button. Once you've added your scheduled items and abstract submission to your session, you can reorder them by clicking on the Order Workshops button and then dragging the submission or item into the desired positions using the hamburger icon. You can remove any of the submissions or items you've added by selecting the Trash icon. You can add poster numbers to the abstract submissions in one of two ways. The first is the hashtag button beside the submission. You will then add the whole poster number. The other method is to select the submissions, add a mask and start number, then click the Assign Poster Numbers button. This will add the same mask and start number to each submission you've selected. The start number will increase with each submission in the list. For example, if you add P as the mask and 1 as the start number, the first submission in your session will be P1, the second P2, and so on. You will now add the times for your items in submission by either clicking on the clock icon or clicking the Allocate Times Equally button. If your session is 3 hours long and you've added 3 submissions, it will allocate an hour to each submission. The next feature in the left menu bar is View Calendar. This will take you to a calendar view of your event where you can see the sessions you've already added, click on them to see the items and submissions you've added to each session, and even create new sessions. The next feature in the left menu bar is the Participants and Sponsors repositories. We discussed these briefly previously, and all the sponsors and participants you have created will appear here. You can also create new sponsors and participants here. Let's move on to presenter conflicts. This page will display any presenters that you've added to multiple sessions that may have overlapping times. This will prevent you from double booking presenters in sessions that are occurring at the same time. The final feature in the left menu bar is the Reports button. This contains the Abstract Summary Report, Excel version, Abstract Summary Report, Word version, Session Detail List, and Session Summary List. Please refer to the user manual for the list of column headers that these reports contain or any additional explanation of what you may use these reports for. Now that we've completed the setup of the schedule, we are going to click on the name of the schedule in the left menu bar to take us back to the Manage Scheduling page. In order for the schedule to appear to the registrants, you will need to enable the schedule. Please keep in mind that if you've connected this schedule to a registration form, only active registrants will see the schedule on their dashboard. There is also a URL to embed the schedule as a widget on your website. The schedule in our demo community has already been enabled, so let's look at the dashboard from the point of view of a registrant. On the Schedules and Itineraries card, you will see a View Schedule and View Itinerary button for the schedule you've created. On the View Schedule page, you will see all the sessions and workshops you've added to your schedule, with pertinent fields attached to provide your registrant with more information about each session and workshop. Your registrants will be able to build their own itinerary for the conference by clicking on the Add Session or Add Workshop button. They can then quickly access their itinerary with the View Itinerary button on this page or on their dashboard. On the itinerary page, they can choose to print their itinerary, email the itinerary, or export the itinerary as an ICS file to add it to a calendar app. Now, let's navigate to the Abstract dashboard and go over some functions to help clean up your session scheduler. Both of these functions are found on the Administrator Options card. The first is the Update Contributor Affiliations function. This will clean up the Word version of the Abstract Summary Report. This report is used to build your program book and can be run on the abstract form if you only want the confirmed abstracts from that specific form, or it can be ran from the session scheduler, where it will pull all confirmed abstracts that have been added to your schedule. Let's download the affiliations file. You will notice there are two columns and both show the same affiliation when you first download the file. What you want to do is find the affiliations that are referring to the same institution but have been spelled differently or have used acronyms. For example, an author or submitter could have listed their affiliation as ISOAL, and another author could have used International Society of Artificial Life Forms, or used different capitalization. This file allows you to change the second column of the file to make these consistent. Once all the changes have been made, click the Upload Affiliations file and choose the file you just edited. Now all your affiliations will be consistent for your program book. The last function we will look at in this video is the Assign Abstract Submissions to Sessions button. This function allows you to populate empty sessions in the scheduler via an Excel file. Let's click on the Assign Abstract Submissions to Sessions button. On this page, we'll choose the schedule we wish to add abstract submissions to via the drop-down menu and click the Download Sessions button. This file will provide information regarding the session title and numeric session ID. Now look at the instructional text below, the Upload Abstract Submissions header, where it states, "To update poster numbers and session assignments, complete this upload sheet, ensuring you populate the session ID with the numeric session ID from the session list download above, as well as the poster number and submission ID columns." Then click the button below to choose your file and begin the process of assigning. The abstract ID can be found on the Abstract dashboard under Abstract Submission Acceptance. Only abstracts with a confirmed status can be added. Once you download the upload sheet, you'll see the Session ID column. Follow the instructions and populate that column with the data found in the numeric session ID of the sessions file. Be aware that you have to create the sessions in the scheduler before the sessions file is populated, as it uses the data from the empty sessions you've created to populate it. You will then use the submission ID data found on the Abstract Submission Acceptance page to populate the submission ID column. You may also add the desired poster number to each submission. For example, If you want to add a submission to a session with the ID 10, you will add 10 under the session ID column. In the next column, you'll add a poster number. Then you will add the submission ID in the final column. Repeat this process for every session until all your submissions have been added, then save the file. Next, go back to Conference Manager and click on the Choose Assignments File button to upload that file. When you go look at your sessions, you will see the submissions have been added. You can then add your scheduled items and choose the time of all workshops in your sessions. That brings us to the end of this tutorial. We look forward to seeing you in the next video of the Conference Manager tutorial series.